Welcome to Global India, a cultural fusion podcast. I am your host, Dr. Aruna Moidu, co-hosting this episode with Dr. Lily Padman. In a changing world, more and more women are stepping out of their traditional role as homemakers to start their own businesses. In India, the change has been slow. According to the latest Google Bain report, only 20% of entrepreneurs are women, and some only hold titles for financial and business reasons without contributing to the running of the enterprise. Traditionally in India, women come to business from a position of disadvantage. They face cultural biases, poor management skills, difficulty in raising funds, and a patriarchal belief that a woman's place is in the home. Yet, in spite of these disadvantages, we see remarkable women consistently shattering the glass ceiling with their vision, effort, willingness to take risks, and become successful entrepreneurs and gain independence, provide for themselves and their families, and earn respect and recognition. Therefore, it is with great pleasure I welcome two such women today, Dr. Mala Deshrikant and Ms. Anjali Vaya. Dr. Mala, a physician by training, has lived a life which could well be the subject of an adventure novel. She will share her journey, as she calls it, from hypodermic needles to knitting needles, a story of incredible courage, resilience, and triumphs to the founding of her successful business today. And Ms. Vaya, the owner of a premier media marketing company in Florida, will share her meteoric rise from Zambia, Africa to America on the wave of the dot-com boom. Welcome to both of you. I'd like to start with Dr. Mala. Dr. Mala, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Your story is inspirational. Could you share with us your journey from hypodermic needles to knitting needles, the transitions you have successfully made in your life, and the core beliefs that sustain you every day?
Hello, Aruna. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk about my life. When I look back on the years and contemplate the ups and downs which have been an essential part of living, it really feels like a game of snakes and ladders. Adult life started as a medical officer in the Indian Air Force. These 5 years, which brought discipline and self assurance into me, were meant to be a tiny break in my plans to become a surgeon. But then love happened, marriage and motherhood happened, and when the two daughters entered my life, the Air Force and postgraduate plans vanished. Next, it was a tiny Arab village in the Sultanate of Oman for the next decade. A decade in which my marriage dissolved and I became a single mother. At that point, I realized that I could depend on no one but myself, and I began rebuilding my shattered self esteem by using and improving my clinical skills. It was hard work with plenty of ups and downs, but with the love and support of some stellar people, I learned to speak fluent Arabic, drive my car like a bullet, practice with confidence and care, and be an effective parent for the daughters. After some years, I was also comfortable enough to contemplate an early retirement. So at this point in life, I decided to return to India with no actual plans for the future. The daughters were still in school, I was still in my 40s, and I was ready to start a new chapter in life. That was as a WHO field consultant in public health. I had colleagues who were years younger to me and who had as many degrees as I had years of living. It was a challenging and steep learning curve. But while I learned about statistics and epidemiology, I realized that I had the skills to make people work as teams and that these teams could really work well together. At this point, a serious traffic accident smashed me and almost took my life. A year of treatment, physiotherapy, and miracles got me back on my feet, but I lost large patches of memory and clinical know how. So I had to give up medicine and move into project management as the director for the HIV project in the Catholic Church. The managerial skills and confidence I had developed during the WHO years really helped to make this a great experience. Yet I felt that this blessing of a second life could not be wasted in just accumulating fame, finances, or flying miles. The girls had grown and flown away to their careers, and I decided to leave the city and settle down in this tiny Himalayan town. Knitting, a forced hobby of childhood, returned as therapy for the injured me. I learned intricate knitting from the net, worked at perfecting my knitting skills, and then decided to take knitting to the next level. Needless to say more.com is the next level of my life. It began as a blog for sharing snippets of my life, the challenges handled, and the lessons learned. But now it has evolved to become a small and successful business of exquisite and exclusive hand knits. I love this life of being a knitter, an entrepreneur, and an independent woman. In this land of gods and mysticism and patriarchy, I have chosen to be true to myself. A single woman who lives alone, a divorcee, and a woman who lives in jeans but who knits all the time like the local knitters. By being authentic and clear headed about myself, I realize that I have shown other women what they can choose to do or choose to become. I do believe in some basic life principles which continue to empower me and help me to handle challenges and rise again and again like a phoenix. The universal principle of accepting the present and realizing that everything in life passes. I also believe in being brutally honest with myself and accepting the good and bad within. Respecting nature and other living beings is another essential principle. All these principles need to be strung on a thread of gratitude to become really effective. That gratitude needs to be there in every breath, and I regularly record it all in a gratitude journal.
Thank you. How did you bootstrap your venture? After all, medical school doesn't teach marketing, and we would love to hear how you were able to grow your team of local knitters. Do you have any advice for other startups?
I was hoping we would move to this interesting aspect of my present life. And you're right, Aruna. After medical school, we had no clue about marketing our medical expertise or our ideas or ourselves. Clinical practice showed me that by being clear about my skills and limitations and by striving to give quality time and care, I would get respect and admiration from my patients. This is in line with the basic principles which have now become a part of me. Needless to say, More is a business which showcases quality. The website began as a blog, but after training and teaching 6 local knitters, and after investing some funds from my savings for procuring good quality yarn and knitting equipment, it has grown quietly and consistently. We are now a group of 18 excellent knitters from neighboring villages. The focus is always on quality. The knitting has to be excellent, the knitters have to get excellent remuneration, and the products have to be excellent. Any item with the label of needless-to-say-more.com has to be a piece of perfect knitting for the customer. There are very few opportunities of economic growth in the mountains, so there will always be women who will want to work and earn with me. The disturbing issue, which I have to face regularly, is that everyone wants to earn good, quick money, but no one wants to work hard for it. NGOs and charitable organizations have made matters worse by giving aid and assistance for a limited period of time, avoiding that hard and thankless task of teaching and training, and leaving the community with mediocre skills. I market Needles to Say More and myself to the village women as a golden chance to learn about the potential within ourselves, to find joy and pride in pursuing perfection, and to grow as human beings. Not surprisingly, these lofty phrases have now become part of the vocabulary of the knitters. With this vocabulary, I have watched Mamta Pandey bring up 3 children, build a house, and grow enough vegetables to sustain the entire family, all the while worked knitting for 8 hours every day for the past 8 years. She had to walk 18 kilometers to meet me for the first time. She did not have the bus fare then, and now she is ready to buy a scooter. Gudiya Khan, widowed at 30 with 2 small boys and a tin sheet covered hovel for home, has knitted and grown into a self sufficient woman living in a 3 room house and starting a grocery shop for her son. She is aware about relevant welfare schemes and projects, and she knows that nothing can hurt her when she is strong and true to herself. As for me, I have chosen to keep doing what I have to do and to remember and celebrate all the encouragement and support I have received. A father who has always been there to help me, even when he didn't quite agree with my plans and ideas. A handful of college friends and girlfriends who have watched over me from a distance, but who have never left my side during troubled times. And that's what I would like to share with other startups. Never forget to celebrate and cherish the good times. The failures and the setbacks contain lessons which we need to learn. So hold on to the lesson, but let go of the bad times. And yes, since we can never make everyone happy, and since we were not born to fulfill the dreams and desires of someone else, we need to consistently focus on our own happiness and on our dreams and desires. When dreams become your reality, feel grateful and blessed, but never ever be apologetic for making your dreams come true and for making the impossible possible.
Now, my question is to Ms. Vaya. Thank you for being here today. You run a successful media marketing company today, but to arrive here must not have been easy, coming as you do from a traditional Indian family. How did all that come about?
Thank you, Dr. Aruna Moidu, for inviting me to participate in this exciting series of educational podcasts. The answer to your question is a little bit more of a journey. I was raised in Zambia, Central Africa. My father was a physician serving in the government hospitals. Technology, of course, at the time was non-existent, as were many of the luxuries that I take for granted today. I attended a government school, which was so ill-equipped that sometimes the teachers were missing and sometimes the books. Most of my learning was imparted from my father from his decade-old books. Both my parents wanted me to pursue a career in healthcare, like many other traditional Indian families. I came to the United States in 1990 to further my studies and completed my degrees in healthcare. After graduating, I went back to Zambia and worked with my father in HIV and AIDS camps. Resources were extremely limited at the time. The working conditions, terrible. We walked into many isolated communities with little or no resources, and besides giving them emotional and mental support, all we could do was give them basic medical supplies. I will never forget the decaying bodies, the unbearable pain, and watching thousands of people abandoned. My past taught me many things. It taught me survival. It taught me how to raise funds for a cause, building teams from the scratch, and many, many more strengths. 2 years later, I was exhausted, young, and I knew I wanted a change in career. In 1999, I won the green card lottery and came back to the United States into Kansas City. I knew right away I wanted to change my career to technology. This was the dot-com era. As I made the shifts in careers in the late 90s, the big buzz was .com. Everything was moving online. The retail sector was just starting with e-commerce. I knew at once this is where I belonged. It was a hard decision, both financially and emotionally. On one hand, I was disappointing my parents, and on the other, I was sacrificing an established career. I was turning down well-paying salaries in healthcare, giving up my experience and my education. But I was convinced that this is where I belonged. My family thought I was absolutely crazy, but I knew deep down that this is what I wanted. And against all advice, I decided to take the plunge.
Ms. Vaya, you had the vision and enterprise to harness the dot-com wave to your advantage. Coming from a healthcare background, the challenges must have been many, as well as the struggles. How were you able to navigate essentially an old boys club culture? What are the changes we can expect in digital marketing in the future? Do you have any predictions?
I took up a job in the retail sector in furniture sales and started attending evening classes learning how to program. Even though the hours of work were crazy, I never realized it as I was so content in what I was doing. As I got more experience, I spoke with the management of the business on an idea of selling furniture online. At first, the management laughed at the idea and asked, Why would anyone buy a piece of furniture without seeing or feeling it? After extensive research on different market caps and several presentations, I convinced them it was worth the try. After a lot of trials and errors in early 1999, we launched one of the first online retail furniture stores in the country. It was a huge success, generating a whole new revenue stream for the business. I worked with the company for over 10 years, and at one point they even asked if I would consider being a partner. This experience gave me the confidence of believing in myself, and now I knew I was ready to take on the next step of being in business for myself. It was a tough decision, as I was giving up the high earnings and was now faced with the financial challenges, as well as the questions. How do you begin? How do you recruit new clients? I quickly joined a few key nonprofit organizations and Chamber of Commerce's, as well as attended a broad range of networking events, interacting with businesses and offering technology services towards customer acquisition and a specialty in data mining. Social media platforms were now becoming a critical point. You were able to track, target, and drive conversions on these platforms. Technology is always evolving. It's essential for anyone in business to stay current and relevant. With the COVID pandemic, the digital presence has become even more relevant than before. For any business to be successful, they must be focused on the customer journey and the touch points. These usually fall within one or more of 5 stages: awareness, engagement, evaluation, purchase, and post-purchase. This COVID-19 era is all about the consumer. The businesses have entered a transformation phase due to the crisis and must ensure that their businesses stand out. Besides focusing on the product or the service, they should be improving their overall customer experience. Here is where big data and artificial intelligence helps by providing essential insights and transforming these insights into competitive intelligence. The drastic changes driven by the pandemic have caused unpredictable changes in consumer behavior. Without the necessary data, businesses may find it hard to find ways to address these consumers' ever-changing needs. Nowadays, the commonly shared experience for most consumers worldwide is the need to comply with government-mandated restrictions and safety precautions, which has led to more demand on online shopping alternatives. Your online channels might be the only practical channel considering the circumstances. The digital era is here to stay, and it will continue advancing on ways to communicate. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. I have faced so many ups and downs. Today, I am unapologetically myself, working every day towards my own goals and dreams. Hard work, sweat and tears were an inevitable part of the challenges I faced, and there's no doubt in my mind that I will face them again. But I will remain undeterred. Thank you, Dr. Aruna Moidu, for giving me a chance to share my journey.
Thank you both for sharing your remarkable stories. I see that diverse as your businesses are, both of you have some traits in common: hard work, vision, never selling yourself short, never stop learning, and knowing to help others, you must first learn to help yourself. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna, Dr. Mala, and Anjali, for a very stimulating episode filled with inspiring accounts of your entrepreneurial journeys. A big thank you to our listeners as well. Hope you have derived enough inspiration to get started with your own dreams. We conclude this episode with a motivational song, Follow Your Dream, and a joke. Karen was asking Sharon, so Sharon, what motivated you to start your own startup? Pat came the reply, I was afraid to step out of my comfort zone and start something new. But my former boss gave me the biggest jolt and a good jump start. One day he came into my office and said the most encouraging 3 words in my life: "You are fired."
People laugh as they stare at you and say she's got nowhere to go. But if they only know you're thinking, where did I go wrong? How should I move on in spite of what I see? They're losing faith in me. You tell yourself you believe that in every feat it takes a heart to endure all the pain and grief, having the hope to see the best that you can be. Follow your dreams, the courage found within. Your soul is keeping you so strong that you could rise each time you fall and stand up on your own. This time